I pressed another pleat into the sheet of heavy drawing paper that I had slipped into my work smock yesterday as I sorted through a shipment of goods from an artist's ransacked atelier. The artist signed his pieces Michel Gainsbourg. Apparently his name was Jewish enough to prompt his arrest, but not sufficiently well known that the Nazi elite vied to possess his artwork. Some of Gainsbourg's dreamy watercolors and elegant sketches might be displayed on the showroom floor below, while the rest would be loaded onto trains bound for Germany. There they might grace the residences of the loyal Herrenfolk, who had lost their homes in the Allied bombings, or adorn the walls of those who simply wanted something new and pretty to spruce things up. It was an enduring mystery to me how the Nazis could so revile the Jews, yet covet their art, their furniture, their clothing, even their ordinary kitchen utensils. But then not much that happened in the Lévitan department store made sense. Truckload after never-ending truckload, the looted household goods arrived nestled in straw-filled wooden crates, as though packed by loving hands. We prisoners sorted and cleaned and repaired the items, some of which would be displayed in the downstairs showrooms, as though there was nothing at all unusual about where they had come from. As though the store's rightful owner, Monsieur Lévitan, had not been forced to flee to the south of France, just steps ahead of the secret police. Once we had arranged the stolen items in tasteful displays on the department store counters, Nazi officials and their wives, or more often their French mistresses, would wander the aisles like plump, greedy children let loose in a candy store. Their avaricious eyes gleamed as they snatched up family heirlooms as well as everyday items. Valuable cloisonné vases and old desk lamps, centuries-old grandfather clocks and ancient pianos, fine bone china and well-used cast-iron skillets. The Nazis called their project Mobile Action, or Operation Furniture. It was a special branch of the Organisation Tot, an organization of forced labor camps that supported the war efforts of the Third Reich. The goal of Operation Furniture was simple: to strip the Jews' homes and businesses of all they possessed so that the Nazis and their followers might live more comfortably, and so that the Jews would have nothing to return to, if they returned at all. Stiff with cold, my fingers moved slowly. Muscle memory soon found the right place to force the fold so that the fan would snap open properly, and as my hands settled into the familiar rhythm, my mind was free to wander. Madame Schreier's fever had spiked last night, and the other prisoners in her pod were attempting to hide her illness from the guards, lest she be deported to wherever it was they sent us when we were no longer useful. Back to Drancy, on the outskirts of Paris, or more likely to camps in Germany and beyond, in Poland. Madame Schreier was pale and wan. Her coffee-brown eyes appeared sunken, and her hands trembled. For now, at least, only her fellow prisoners knew just how weak she had become. After all, none of us was looking our best. Folding a fan is akin to the Japanese art of origami, creating something magical, even miraculous, from an ordinary sheet of paper. The delicate watercolor sketch of a shepherdess with her flock meant the finished fan would be not only useful but also lovely, just as a proper fan should be. Back in our shop, in my father's shop, La Maison Benoit, we created works of art from silk and peacock feathers, with carved ivory stays gilded in gold. Before the war, our fans had been in demand by the finest fashion houses. Before the war, I spent my nights in the jazz clubs of Montmartre, reveling in the knowledge that we were the lucky ones. We had survived the war of 1914 and freed ourselves from the suffocating weight of tradition, and were creating a new society filled with art and music and openness. Before the war, Charles and I had exulted in wine and song and each other, secure in the belief that the worst days were behind us, and that beauty and joy lay ahead.